by DJ Moore, still going across midfield, inside the 40, the 30.
This is Desmond Johnson on the Bleav and Carolina Panthers podcast, here on the Bleav Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network for professionals. Do you believe? If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. We're available on your favorite directories: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Luminary, and TuneIn. You can also find us at Bleav.com and at Bleav Podcasts on Twitter. And welcome into a brand new edition of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast, brought to you by Bleav Podcast Networks, presented by Bet Online AG. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Panthers all-time leading rusher Jonathan Stewart. Sports Illustrated beat writer Schuyler Callihan will be joining us shortly. We got a lot to get to for you this week. Of course, it's NFL Combine week, so we've got some audio from General Manager Scott Fitterer, as well as new head coach Frank Reich, in terms of today's episode is really more about veteran quarterback versus rookie quarterback. And they had a lot to say on that subject. So we'll get into that, chop that up. At that point, Schuyler should be in. Of course, every episode's open mailbag, so you can definitely come in, show us that that you're paying attention and listening to the show. Shout out to Chris Gosen, if I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I apologize. Andrew Rumfeld and others who were waiting in line to come in to watch the game. We also are going to touch on that as well. Carolina Panthers founder Jerry Richardson passed away yesterday. Of course, Jonathan Stewart, you were a player that was drafted by Jerry Richardson, so we'll get your thoughts on the man himself and what he means to football in the Carolinas. A bit of a complicated legacy, I guess you could say, towards the end, but we'll get into that as well. Before we get to all that, though, a quick message from our sponsor over at Bet Online. BetOnline remains your #1 source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from NBA, NFL, bowl season to esports. You always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your reward. Bet Online, where the game starts. And where we start, of course, the news that broke yesterday across the Carolinas that former Carolina Panthers founder Jerry Richardson had passed away. The team did not reveal the cause of death. He was 86 years old. He passed away Wednesday night. Played at Wofford College, 154th player selected in the 1958 NFL draft to the Colts. He was actually in the greatest game ever played in that. Actually, he retired after his second season, though, and then returned back to South Carolina, where he started a career in business. You might be familiar with the restaurant Hardee's. He basically started that, built his fortune off of 15-cent hamburgers, and in 1993, he was awarded a franchise by the NFL. He became the first former NFL player to own a team since George Halas owned the Bears way back in the day. Richardson sold the team for his principal stake after a workplace misconduct investigation in December of 2017. David Tepper bought it in 2018 for $2.2 million, or $1 billion, excuse me. That's a big 2.2 million and 2.2 billion are two different things completely. Under Jerry Richardson, the Panthers reached 2 Super Bowls and 3 NFC title games. We're blessed to have a player with us, a Jonathan Stewart, who was drafted by Jerry Richardson, that was paid by Jerry Richardson, and knew this man fairly intimately, I would imagine, being your employer. Give us an idea of when you heard the news and your thoughts on Jerry Richardson, Stu.
Yeah, man. I mean, life is, every now and then you're reminded how fragile and how delicate and how special life is. No matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, when death is, at your front door, it's hard to deal with. And, first of all, I want to say my condolences and my prayers to the Richardson family, everyone that's, connected, very deeply. And it's, there's a celebration that obviously needs to be had about this man's life and what he means to the Carolinas. But, for me, it's simply he took a chance on me, Um, he took a chance on a kid from the Northwest, um, a kid that was injured coming out of college. So, I mean, the certainty there um, didn't, flag and wave, oh, this is the best selection in the draft. So it's an obvious yes. Um, but it's always a good feeling when you have someone of that stature and um, of that experience in this profession to see something in you, to believe in you, and to ultimately trust in you. That's what really this game is about is getting guys on a team that you trust and that you see potential in, and so that way they can give you um, a performance on the field, for the fans and for the community and for the state, for the city, and for the NFL ultimately. Um, put on the best product. Um, Jared Richardson, I mean, he walks into a room. Remember, a lot of times you would never know when he comes. It's kind of unannounced, but he would show his presence in the locker room quite frequently, and a man that wasn't really a rah rah guy or hey look at me guy. He wore his suits. Every time you seen him, he had a clean, shaven face and always put together with a nice haircut. And so when you see Mr. Richardson, you see a professional. He meant business. He's the founder of not just the NFL team, but he's a founder of a team that is really a vehicle that facilitates the movement for men and women to seek out their dreams and their aspirations, to their careers, to the sports world and to the sports community. Training staff, coaching staff, players all alike. The business side of football. There's people that go through high school and go through college and say, "Man, I want to be in sports," because there's something special about the sports community. It brings people together. Keeps people dreaming. It keeps people looking forward to something. That's bigger than them. Um, to be a founder, you're really an originator. You know what I'm saying? And he's initiated the start of many chapters for many people's lives. And so, I mean, you can go on and talk about what this man means to Carolina, but he really means people owe Mr. Richardson, more than just a couple words. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
He's done a lot for this community. He's done a lot for South Carolina and North Carolina, bringing the Panthers here. And I mean, obviously for me, simply put, I wouldn't be here today without Mr. Richardson. I wouldn't have 2 kids. I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't have played in the NFL for 10 years. Who knows, what I'm saying? Like where I would have been if I got drafted somewhere else. I was plagued throughout my career, ups and downs with a lot of injuries. And, for him being an owner that understands the game and understands injuries and understands what it takes to build an organization like the one that we had. He saw something in me. He bet on me. And that at the end of the day, that just feels good. You know what I'm saying? It's a confidence builder to make you feel like you can accomplish anything. And so shout out to Mr. Richardson. Rest in peace. Truly missed. Yesterday when I heard the news, it was sad, and kind of went through my day, kind of floating a little bit. Shared with my wife, and my wife is has some connections there with some of his grandkids. She went to Wofford College, so this is affecting the whole community in a lot of different ways. But for me, I have nothing but positive things to say about this man because he's done a lot for me.
Yeah, he people may not be aware of the story of how the Carolinas actually landed an NFL franchise to begin with. It was basically Jerry Richardson kind of strong arming this thing through all the way back in 1987. He basically started the process of trying to do this. The Hornets had just arrived in 88. But in 88, 89, Charlotte wasn't known as the banking capital of the East Coast or whatnot. It was built basically a 400,000 population city in North Carolina. Like, you didn't think they were going to be able to handle pro sports back then, but he saw a dream and pushed it through. Some of the things that we kind of take for granted or we don't think too much about, he kind of innovated the permanent seat license concept. The Panthers were the first to do that, where fans pay upfront
PSLs,
get season tickets. Yeah, that was able to give them an influx of cash that they were able to use to build the stadium. The 29th franchise awarded in the NFL, October 26, 1993, awarded to Jerry Richardson. I wanted, Schuyler, did you have anything you want to add on with the passing of former owner Jerry Richardson on Wednesday night?
No, I mean, I think Stu touched on it beautifully. I mean, he had firsthand interaction with them, had that relationship with them, and obviously, I've only been covering the team for 4 years, so I don't really have much familiarity with him, but I do know that his impact is felt on this community, like Stu said, and to be honest with you, like, if you really think about like how much an NFL franchise means, like I really don't think that Charlotte, and this is with all respect to Charlotte because I love Charlotte, but Charlotte would not be Charlotte today if it wasn't for the Carolina Panthers.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah,
not even close.
The amount of money that's been brought into this region and past Charlotte, when you get outside Concord, all the areas are outside Charlotte that have grown over the past 20 years. These little suburban neighborhoods on the outskirts of Charlotte, not just Charlotte, but into South Carolina, Rock Hill, and all that kind of stuff. The Panthers are directly responsible for the revenue growth over the past 20 years of this region, to the point where it's looked at as a sports town, now. So, and I think you can really give a lot of credit to that to Jerry Richardson and him bringing the Panthers through here. It is Open Mailbag Monday, and we do have comments coming in from everybody checking in. Glad you guys were able to hang out with us today. Hopefully you're able to go grab some lunch and check on what's going on with your Panthers. Today's episode, the one where David Carr shows up. Of course, David Carr spoke with General Manager Scott Fitterer and head coach Frank Reich at the combine, I Bleav by phone, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think they met again while they were there. I went and got some audio from both Scott Fitterer and Frank Reich so we could play a little respond and react to this. This is Scott Fitterer talking about the initial meeting with David Carr.
It was, we talked to him on the phone before, and then we met with him last night. And it's really kind of a get-to-know-you session. What are you looking for? Here's what we offer. This is what we're looking for. So it's kind of a feeling out process. We're not talking. We're not making any commitments. We're just going down that road. We're also going down the road of, the draft quarterbacks as well. Because of when free agency is right after the combine here, you have to go down multiple roads at the same time. And that's really our philosophy, is to explore every option out there and get all information, then make the best information. Once we have all those answers, what's best for the Carolina Panthers moving forward.
Initial thoughts on Fitterer's initial comment there about, I know everybody's waiting for us to say something about it. The Panthers got attached to Aaron Rodgers yesterday. I know y'all are waiting on that, but we got to take a step back here. I wanted to play that audio first before we even address that, because he kind of answered the question in there, right? I mean, they're basically just like leaving no stone unturned, right? Like, they're looking at all options, which is what we wanted them to do. We didn't want them to come in with a narrow view of their dream of what to do. It almost sounds like they're open to everything, like whatever.
You don't invest in a building without doing due diligence.
Right. And
so you got to lift up every cornerstone, every little piece of rug that's in there. Check the pipes, check the plumbing, check the electric, check the roof, all that HVAC. Make sure it's good, right? So that's really what we're doing right now. We seeing, the playing field, the options out there on the table from every angle, and I think this is, the specialty right now we're seeing out of Scott Fitterer.
yeah, and I love it. I mean, I love the fact that he's pretty open about what they're doing. Like, they're not hiding anything. They're not trying to be sneaky or anything like that. They're pretty much letting the fan base know, hey, yeah, we're talking to Aaron Rodgers, yeah, or we're trying to see what's up with Aaron Rodgers. That's a whole other story in itself. We're talking to Derek Carr. We're talking to, we're talking to all these players. We might draft a quarterback. We don't know. So it's refreshing. It's very refreshing to have a front office doing this, because it's been a long time. Even with the Ron Rivera, Marty Hurney, regime, they weren't this open in terms of like explaining the game plan and what they're doing. And you can tell they're super excited about this coaching staff. They feel like he mentioned something earlier in this clip about having Jim Caldwell in the building is such an asset for if they decide to bring in whatever quarterback, because this dude has been with some of the greatest of all time and helped mentor them. So they feel pretty comfortable whichever way they go.
What also this is too is like this time of year, it's smokescreen season, right? So you got to kind of weed through everything to really figure out what's real and what's not. And it's hard to figure that out because, I mean, especially with Scott Fitterer, like a guy has clearly said multiple times that they're going to look at every deal. I mean, when a guy says that, it's kind of really hard to figure out what is true, what's not. But I do know, regardless of what they do with Derek Carr, whether they go and sign him or they don't, what this does is it's going to drive up the bidding price or the price tag, I guess you should say, for other teams, specifically New Orleans, who is in your division. So if you're not going to sign them and you at least meet with them, you have extensive talks with them, maybe they come back around again. New Orleans sees that, they get more serious about it, they react, maybe overreact to that, and now they offer their Carr more money. So, I mean, that's just a scenario that could play out. Now, they could be very serious about this, and I actually do think they are, because they, just like the coaching search, like we talked about, they literally, went through a thorough search. They could have had that thing wrapped up in a week or two. And they said, no, we're going to look at every single possible. I mean, they interviewed 9 guys, and 3 of them came back for second interviews. So I think it's good to be thorough with it. And I think really we'll have a very good idea of what they're going to do at quarterback within the next week or so, because if you don't see anything moving with Derek Carr, free agency's coming up here in less than 2 weeks. So by that time, they need to know, because if they don't sign Carr in this first wave of free agency, what their plan is. They're going to go draft a quarterback, and maybe in the second wave of free agency, draft or sign that bridge guy like a Jacoby Brissett or a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Let me ask you this: when we talk about bridge quarterbacks for both of you, how do you feel about Sam Darnold as the bridge quarterback?
I'm fine with it.
Fine with him.
I think I am too, especially with these guys with him. This would be the most accomplished coaching staff that Sam Darnold's had in his NFL career.
If I'm Sam Darnold, I would want to come back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I see. Oh, y'all got Jim Caldwell in here. Oh, Josh McCown's the quarterback. Okay.
Josh McCown.
Somebody help me, please help me.
Help me.
He's 25. He's 25 years old. I mean, it feels like he's sitting right. It almost sounds like, listening to them too, that Sam is kind of
he can run too, bro.
He can run, like, wheels on him.
He's like
that
fits the skill set that Frank Reich wants. You know
and he's not going to be expensive. He's not going to break the bank. Whereas these other, like Derek Carr, to me, is still a bridge quarterback. He's in his mid-30s, right? Like, you're going to pay him. He's 31, so he's in his early 30s. But the rest of your team is in their mid-20s. Like, you're going to have to replace him eventually in the next 4 or 5 years, as opposed to drafting a guy. But you kind of almost have to fall in love with one of these quarterbacks enough to want to go up to get him, because I don't know if you can really get what's really going to work at 9.
I don't really see Carr. I mean, Carr's a good quarterback. I mean, if they choose to go with him, I mean, they'll make it work because they got the coaching staff. Yeah. But as far as the things that I've heard about what Frank Reich wants out of a quarterback, Derek Carr, not much of a runner. You know what I'm saying? So Like there's a lot that I see there that, like that's if you want a security blanket, you want a security blanket that can come in and run the offense that you want to run.
And here's the thing too: if you sign Derek Carr, you're going to have to sign him probably north of $35 million a year.
Yeah,
And
are
already
saving my money.
So it's not like you're signing Aaron Rodgers or you're trading for Aaron Rodgers or you signed Tom Brady. Like this is Derek Carr. You can't forget that. You can't just completely use all of your cap space that you really don't even have at the moment for a guy that may or may not be the answer. To me, it makes more sense to go and draft that guy and hope that you hit on him and sign a guy that's going to be your bridge. Now, I mean, who knows? But the big question is, and I don't know how deep we're diving into the draft stuff today, but I actually did an article on it today. I want to get your guys' opinion. If they do sign Derek Carr, what's the plan at 9? Do you trade back? Do you stay put? And what do you do if you stay put?
Ooh.
To me, I'm getting like Quentin Johnson, TCU receiver, like or a defensive end.
Maybe
I definitely would want to go and get some playmakers.
Yeah. You can trade down,
stack that up,
bottom of the first, and because see, I'm still kind of like, I think I still would want to take a quarterback, even if they sign Carr, but I wouldn't take somebody in the first. I think I'd go back to my original plan and draft Hendon Hooker in the second if I'm signing Derek Carr and let him sit. But that means Carr is your bridge quarterback, like Hendon Hooker is your guy. And I completely forgot about this really until I made myself watch the 2-hour-long NFL Live yesterday because they were going through like all the quarterbacks and they teased a Frank Reich segment, and it was like an hour and 45 minutes into the show. I had to sit there and watch the whole thing before they got to him. And then it was like for 3 minutes. I was like, oh man, I just sat here this whole time. But I learned some stuff. I forgot the best quarterback in college football last year. It wasn't Bryce Young. It wasn't CJ Stroud. It was Hendon Hooker. Like he was the best quarterback in the whole season until he got hurt. And then we just kind of forgot about him, but he was on the way to win the Heisman.
When you have his age, which is
he's 25. Yeah.
You have his age and then that knee injury, that's going to scare a lot of teams off.
Right.
So he's going to slip to the second. I mean, heck, he may slip to the third round.
Get him the second or third. If we do sign a vet, I'd want to draft Hendon Hooker. And that way he can sit for a year, rehab, get right. And with the way modern medicine is, if he finally becomes a starter at age 26, he still could have a 10-year career, like in the NFL in today's, nowadays. So
Anthony Richardson would fit in that scenario too.
Yes, I was going to say that. Now that's the only one I'd probably take at 9 would be Richardson. And I saw some film of him yesterday too. There's a lot of intriguing ways they could go here, which is probably why Scott Fitterer is looking so happy up here at the podium. He actually talked about the idea of drafting a quarterback right here.
You want to know
in
what?
an ideal world, you always want to draft a quarterback, develop, and then have that guy here for 5-10 years. You want to have that consistency. It helps for many different reasons. The continuity on your roster for salary cap reasons. There's so many benefits to drafting and developing. That is the right route to go. We'll see if we can get in a position where we get one of the guys we like. Is there a guy there in the second round? Can we get up in the first round? Those are all the things we're exploring right now. But yes, you're right. I don't think it's wrong to necessarily look at the veteran route if you can't do that. But in an ideal world, you do want to draft.
What were you about to say, Stu? Sorry about that.
No, I was going to say, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say.
It'll come to you at 4 o'clock this afternoon. That's what I was going to say.
No, Richardson. I like Richardson.
Anthony Richardson out of Florida.
And the reason why is because I like my coaching staff.
Yes.
Like
it's different. Yeah.
It's weird to say, but you just hearing what Fitty just said, you want to have consistency. And you look at Cam, and I'm not comparing Richardson to Cam. There's only one Cam Newton. But you compare drafting a guy of that stature with that ability and you build around that, you know what I'm saying? Especially with the mindset that Frank Reich has with his offense and the approach with the RPO and all that. You know, like
He's a today.
You build around that.
Yeah.
You build around that, and you coach him up. Like, hey, son, go out there. This is what you look at. This is what we read. This is your read. Make the throw. You know what I'm saying? Like, make the right decision.
NFL Live yesterday, one thing I did pick up, they were talking about Anthony Richardson, and they said that pretty much to all of them, NFL scouts and coaches that have already interviewed Anthony Richardson have said that he's the smartest quarterback that they've interviewed out of this batch of quarterbacks that he's put together. Like it's very unknown how intellectually smart Anthony Richardson actually is, which when I heard that, I'm like, okay, that means we were sitting there looking at like he's just this big mold of clay that we could do something with. But if he can actually process stuff faster, and he's going to be with a Frank Reich and a Josh McCown and a Jim Caldwell, and he's going to have an offensive line in front of him with a run game and a defense.
Back there,
he's going to come in with a 1,000-yard receiver and DJ Moore. Like it's a perfect scenario to parachute a guy in, or to have a Sam Darnold there with some kind of cohesion, and you put Richardson in when he's ready, or Hooker when he's ready, or whatever it might be. You don't have to rush it, but
have you seen how fast he shoots out of his hand?
Richardson, yeah. I mean, him and Levis. I was down on Levis until I saw some film on him too. Will Levis looks a little bit like Josh Allen to me, a little bit. The way he throws, he's not Josh Allen, but Josh Allen had the same kind of doubts when he came out too that people are dropping on Levis, and I keep seeing us attached to him. But he's the one that I'm like, I don't want to. I don't think
roll the dice on him.
Yeah, I don't. Everybody's making too many excuses for Will Levis. With Richardson. The main thing I've heard is that people have watched his full games. Actually, Schuyler, I think you said this, that you've watched full Florida games and you came away unimpressed with Richardson. But was that people around him?
That's because he had college coaches.
Yeah. Was he the system he was running? They were running some college type stuff in Florida.
So last year, not this past season, 21, I watched him play South Florida. I know it's South Florida, but still, that game to me is kind of where he got on my radar. Because, I mean, he was just lighting it up. I mean, this is when I don't even think he was starting. I think he was coming off the bench, and he just ran up and down the field on that team. And, I mean, I don't think it mattered if it was South Florida or if it was a Power 5 school. Like, he was going to get his yards that day. But his running ability, I'm telling you, like, and I still believe this, I've not seen anything like it since probably Lamar Jackson came out in terms of a running quarterback. Josh Allen can run, but, I mean, he doesn't like wow you with it. You know what I mean? He's just
it's almost necessity.
Yeah, yes. Josh Allen, a semi truck.
Yeah, you gotta make a business decision if you're gonna tackle him or not.
The biggest thing with him is consistency. Like a lot of times when you watch his tape, there's downfield throws. Sometimes not everything is all married together in terms of his arm action with his lower half and everything like that. That's a big problem. But it's not unfixable or not fixable. It's clearly something that can be tweaked.
I mean, you look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen came into the league and he had bad mechanics, and then a year goes by, he comes back and he's a completely new quarterback.
Well, let's put it this way. It's not like this is Tim Tebow coming out where he's got that elongated.
Oh, God. I feel like he was throwing a chicken by its neck. Yeah. Like every time he would throw a football, it was crazy.
We ain't talking about Tim Tebow when it comes to football. We can talk about Tim Tebow when he's doing stuff in the community and all
his
that.
Ministry and all that stuff. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Tim Tebow.
He's got good mechanics. He really does. I think it's just sometimes they just get a little bit out of whack. But again, it's literally something that can be fixed with good coaching, and that's what the Panthers have. That's why I feel like for him personally, Carolina probably is the dream landing spot for him.
For Richardson, yeah. And I'm starting to see a little bit attached to it because, again, I don't think they would just throw him out there like Cam Newton style start the first game. Like it wouldn't be set up like that. I think in that situation, you do bring back Sam Darnold. You do let him be the starter until Richardson overtakes him pretty much. And in that instance, you don't give up anything. You're not giving up draft picks to move up for –
and you're not spending a crap ton of money in a
45 million or 58 million or whatever. The Aaron Rodgers ain't coming to Carolina, y'all. Okay, like I know some of y'all are worried about this. I know y'all freaked out when it popped because I was in the car driving and we're like, and the Carolina Panthers have inquired with Green Bay about Aaron. I was like, what? Like we don't even have any money. Like what are we doing? We're just window shopping. That's all we're doing. We're just window shopping.
That's what I'm confused with because I can't get any answer on if that's actually true or not. And from the people that I've spoke to and trust, they don't hear anything like that either. It's weird because it came from Schefter, and I heard him say it again this morning on SportsCenter. I'm like, so I mean, obviously he hears something, but I don't know why nobody else is hearing that. It's very odd. I've never really seen that before.
You think maybe the Panthers just kind of put that out there just to kind of, like you said earlier in the segment, that they're just letting people know maybe they want to drive the price up? Because I think it was last week we were talking about, what if Aaron Rodgers shows up in Tampa? They just slot him in there. This could be something where maybe the Panthers caught a wind of that, or hell, the whole division needs quarterbacks. I mean, what if he showed up in Atlanta? Atlanta actually has the cap room to go get him if they wanted. I don't know why he would want to go there. There's no one to throw to.
That's a stink fest, man.
Yeah, like they need a lot more than just Aaron Rodgers. And then, like you were saying with Anthony Richardson, the comparison I keep hearing is that if Cam Newton and Justin Fields had a baby, it would be Anthony Richardson. And I'm like,
he's got a let me put it this way, and I have to be very careful how I word this. Anthony Richardson is a better, or has a better arm than either of those two. But Cam Newton is a slightly better passer in terms of when he came out of college.
Wait, define better. Like, you mean like stronger, or like
stronger arm, more zip on the ball, I would say, a little bit, but it's not so much with the accuracy is really the biggest thing. That's the biggest difference, I think, between Cam and AR coming out of college. Cam was completing balls a little higher percentage. Anthony Richardson, not so much. Now, is he ever going to be a better passer than Cam? I don't know. I don't want to bet
60%.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a 58% kind of completion percentage type guy.
Cam too. Yeah,
he probably lived around 60, I would say.
He was right. I think last time I checked, he was like at 59.8 or something like that. Because the last 2 years he actually we had a different offensive coordinator. I can't remember his name now, but he was actually playing well. It was
that's the thing. Like when you look at his mechanics and just the natural release of the ball, it's a natural throw with Anthony Richardson. That's why I feel like if he goes to Carolina, gets that coaching and that development, he's going to have a chance to be very successful, because it's fun to watch him throw the ball. It really is.
I mean, I feel like the biggest difference in the pro level for a quarterback is understanding what's open, right?
Yep.
Like college open, you're like
things close.
You can throw. College.
Things are open for like 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying? On a flat route, like, oh, he's open, but I'm gonna check over here for a second.
Man, I'm gonna
go back. Oh, he's still open.
Look when you're crossing the street like 112 each way.
At the pro level, if he's open, you better throw it. If that's your first read, he's open.
Go. And that's why I was so happy to hear all of these scouts from different teams basically being wowed by how smart Anthony Richardson was compared to the other quarterbacks that they're looking at in the first round. Because I'm like, on one hand, I'm like, well, actually, that might push him up past where we can get him at 9 before the set.
We might want to just go ahead and just stop talking about him. Like
we don't want Anthony Richardson. Like, let's not even mention his name anymore. We don't want him.
Fifth round grade at best.
Yeah, with all that said, I think he'll be
priority undrafted free agent. Maybe a practice squad guy.
So head coach Frank Reich also spoke to the media at the Combine this week also, and he actually talked about what we're talking about here, the idea of bringing in a veteran quarterback as opposed to going the rookie route. Here's head coach Frank Reich.
It's a great question, and it's one that we're talking a lot about right now. There's the value of the veteran and the leadership and the proven commodity and all that kind of stuff. And how does that fit with the team in the locker room? What's versus taking a young guy and doing something in the draft and building it from there. Those are all things that need to be discussed. They all need to. There are intangibles and there are tangible, there's things that you can quantify, things that you can't quantify. So we work together to talk through those things.
How do you like the quarterback draft?
Thoughts on the process? I love the fact that the process is so, what's the word I'm looking for?
Thorough.
Thorough, yes, thorough. They're doing their due diligence, like Stu said at the very beginning. Like they're not just assuming they're the smartest guys in the room. Like they're talking to everybody, they're looking at all angles. But you kind of catch a vibe from them that they kind of know what they want. Like, they might be putting all this stuff out to Schuyler's point. It's smoke signal time though in the NFL. You kind of get a vibe that they kind of know who they want and they're narrowing down who they want. And it feels like we're going for a quarterback in this top 10 of this draft. They might trade up for one. My fear is that they catch some tape of Bryce Young, because I actually saw some of him yesterday and was like, oh, he's actually he's little.
Like that. He
ain't like Kyler Murray, where Kyler Murray is running around like trying to get to the edges and throw the ball. Yeah. He stays in the pocket. And it was an excellent point they made yesterday when I was watching NFL Live, where he's been the same size his whole life. Like he's been playing quarterback his whole life at this size, and he's used to the deep drop backs and all that stuff that he's had to do. He's been doing it since high school. So it's not like something he's going to have to learn when he gets to the NFL. Plus, two, it's not like we're playing in 1985. Like, we don't have to worry about the dude getting like Russian sickled or whatever back there. Like, there's so many rules to not hit the quarterback. You really only can hit him from here to here at this point now. So the worry about him getting injured, he's never been hurt from Pop Warner to Alabama.
My biggest concern, though, is let me just start off by saying this. I believe my man can get to the league and be successful. But one of the things that he's going to have to deal with is batted down passes, right? We saw it throughout the whole league last year. We saw it with the Panthers, with Baker Mayfield. Like, it's just one of those things, the ball trajectory coming from down below, lower, because he's smaller and whatnot. Like, that's an issue. You know what I'm saying? So, like if you want your team to have rhythm and consistency, like, and try to win games, if you're the Carolina Panthers, for me, like, I don't want to deal with that learning curve. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the biggest thing for me is like he's a great talent, but the NFL guys are getting smarter. Like, oh, I can't get to you? Well, I'm going to just bat your pass down. I'm going to time it up. Hopefully I can get an interception.
I was looking for that in the film I was watching of him. And, he's got Alabama offensive line in front of him, one of the best in college football every year. So he had a little bit of that luxury there. But he's hit the main spot he was hitting is the middle of the field, like right there in the flat, like 10 yards out. Like that's his sweet spot. But in the NFL, you can make money right there. Like if you can get there consistently without getting batted down or intercepted or whatever, and you're very accurate, he throws guys open. Like he throws them open pro style, like very short window.
The only other quarterback his height to be drafted number 1 overall, to my knowledge, is Kyler Murray. And I have a feeling that if we have another mediocre type season from Kyler Murray, Arizona's going to be moving off of him too. So
they just gave him all that money. Ugh. He's got torn ACL too. Like he's not even ready for the start of the year.
New coaching staff.
God, Arizona.
Who knows?
Mess.
There's a lot,
total mess.
There's a lot of craziness out there. But I don't know.
Old school Panther fan said, it was a great point. Fitterer said on the Adam Gold show, this might be the last year we're in the top 10 of the draft. It might be the best chance to trade up. That's an excellent point too. People got to keep in mind. I think I saw somebody earlier in the comment section saying that they wanted Drake May next year from Carolina. And I'm gonna let you know right now, this team is too talented to get Drake May next year. Like we ain't gonna be picking top 5, top 3 or whatever. Drake May is gonna probably be the number 1 quarterback off the board next year. If he has another good year. And I don't understand that mentality of fans going like basically just willing to punt seasons for one player 14 months from now. Like they look at it almost like it's Madden. Like, why don't we just forget the players' livelihoods and the guys that are playing on this team and, the workers and everybody else in the stadium. Why don't we just not win next year so we can draft Drake May next year and then put them with all our people? It don't work that way. Like aren't y'all tired of that? Aren't y'all tired of waiting like every year for the next thing? And then we do this like every time the draft comes around. I don't know about this guy. I don't know about that guy. What about this guy? Like it's going to be the same thing next year if we're in the same spot. This defense is too good The offensive line is too good.
Just,
Like, they got too many pieces.
Just think about Scott Fitterer's approach to free agency every year. He goes and gets what the team needs in free agency, so that way in the draft they can just take the best player available. So you got to keep that in mind. But I think it also, in years like this where it's kind of becoming very clear, like they need to take a guy at quarterback in the draft. If you address your needs in free agency, this roster is pretty much just waiting for a young quarterback, right? So if this is your chance, why not use that draft capital, take everything San Francisco gave you in that Christian McCaffrey trade, or at least most of it, and move on up to go get your guy. Mm-hmm. It's going to be on a rookie contract, and you've already taken care of your needs. So if you don't have a second and third round pick, then it doesn't matter because you've already filled those needs at either receiver, tight end, or cornerback, or whatever.
I totally agree. Like people always like, we need to hold on to our picks. We need to do that, this, that, and the third. We're skipping over the fact that last week we raved over this coaching staff that they have put together. How many people, by a show of hands in the class today, believe the Panthers are going to be below 500 next year just off the strength of the coaching staff they brought in? Like, and what we already know is here. I don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. Like, I was picking them to go 11-5 last year, and Matt Rule was still here. Like they got too much talent to just. The division is a dumpster fire. Like, we're in the best position money-wise, talent-wise, coaching-wise to make a move right now. Like, they could do it right now. This whole wait 3 years, 4 years thing is you don't have to do that in the NFL. You can flip a team in a year, literally nowadays.
Is it a bold statement to say that P.J. Walker would win this division?
With these coaches?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Right now where everyone else. Right now.
So I'm thinking around like Kyle Trask in Tampa, Desmond Ridder in Atlanta, Jameson Winston.
Well, PJ's not coming back, by the way. But I'm just saying, I think PJ's definitely. In my mind, I think he would probably be. I don't know, the second best quarterback in the division
as it stands today. Yeah. Yeah, and that just shows you the division, where it is going to be going into next year. We're going to be too good, man. We're going to be too good to be worrying about next year's draft.
We're going to be in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see it any other way. This staff doesn't seem like it's built to wait a year or two. Like, they don't have to do that with the roster that we have. Carolina Pride actually mentions Khalil Mack, Jalen Ramsey projected cap casualties. This defense would be insane. Give a young quarterback extra possessions. Some of those guys have connections to some of these coaching guys on the staff. I've thought of that too. Like, they could, if something we mentioned with this staff, you're going to get guys like Khalil Mack or Jalen Ramsey or others. They're going to look at Carolina now and be like, oh,
some more realistic targets. Think of Yannick Ngakoue, who played with or for Frank Reich in Indy. And I also wouldn't count out maybe a James Bradbury return.
I wouldn't mind that. That's some good stuff. Hey, Andrew, man, we weren't trying to roast you, Andrew. It's just you come in an open mailbag, man. You might catch a stray. Like, you throw something out there, everybody can see. We're gonna pull it up. Ask the other guys in the room. They know that everybody in there's probably had one or two that they put up that we saw. I'm like, put it up and just had to dissect it. But it's all good, Andrew. We appreciate you being in here today. Coach
Andrew, I wasn't saying nothing bad about you, bro.
We didn't say nothing about him. It was the idea.
We don't control it. It's all good.
Reich also mentioned basically what we're talking about here, that pretty much everything is on the table.
Yeah, I mean, every option is on the table at this point. Every option, moving up, moving back, signing a free agent. Every option is on the table. I mean, it has to be. You have to, this is a huge decision, and it would be malpractice not to really vet through every one of those decisions. What's the impact? What are the unintended consequences? You have to think through all that, and that's where we're at right now.
It's so refreshing to hear
malpractice.
Yeah. I mean, he means it too. Like, it would be ridiculous of us not to look at this or look at that or look at the third. So when you hear the Panthers are kicking the tires on Aaron Rodgers or trying to get Tom Brady out of retirement or whatever is going to come down the pipe in the next couple of weeks that we're going to get attached to, because it sounds like we're going to get attached to a lot, just keep in mind they have a plan. They're just throwing out a whole bunch of word salad So you don't know what the plan is really.
Yeah.
They're going to draft a quarterback, aren't they? They're going to draft a quarterback.
Oh yeah.
Like it feels like that's what they want. Now, which one it is, I have no idea. Because they got enough to move up to 1. When the Rams moved up for Jared Goff, they traded 2 1s, 2 2nds, and I think 2 3rds. We could do that if we really wanted to for Bryce Young to move up, but
and then they traded him to Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit for Matthew Stafford and a bag of peanuts, pretty much. But Jared Goff ain't a bad quarterback. He just actually, you know what? I wonder if the Rams regret that. Well, they got a ring out of it, but look at them now. Like going forward, Stafford has half a shoulder. I don't know. Goff might have been the long-term solution. Like if they just
Goff was efficient last year too.
Yeah, played really well for the Lions.
Played really well.
So, but there's a lot of stuff they could do at 9. They could stay there. Kinfolk NC says stay at 9, grab Anderson, grab Hooker, and another quarterback than wide receiver. They've got options. They don't have like last year. We were like they need offensive line. They need offensive line. We don't want to hear anything else. The quarterbacks in this draft are kind of we need an offensive lineman, and we went out and got one. But this year it's kind of more wide open. They can play with the skill positions a little bit. They can go get a quarterback. This is the year they can really go like shopping and fill in the gaps on some of the stuff in the roster. So I'm excited. I honestly think that if somebody takes, I think it's Stroud. I think Stroud's the one they really want. And if he's gone by like pick 5, I could see him staying at 9 and drafting Richardson, actually. And if they don't, say like Jalen Carter falls to 9, you take Jalen Carter at 9 after everything that's been going on with him in the news this week?
I don't know that answer now, but maybe in a month when we get all the details.
Yeah.
Here, my thing with the whole quarterback thing is like you can't wait. So like if CJ Stroud is your guy, I don't care if you have to go up to clear number 1 to go get him. You got to go get him. Don't let anybody else take him and just sit there and hope he falls in your lap. So if that's the case, you got to go get him. If you Bleav Anthony Richardson, or if you're not convicted on CJ Stroud and you're like, okay, well, we can maybe go Anthony. If he's there, we may consider Anthony Richardson. That's a different story. But with you,
I got a question though. If AR-15 go out there and show out, and then all of a sudden everybody start talking different, you might have to trade up to get him just to solidify.
They're going to start going on Saturday.
If you fall in love with him, go get him. And that's the thing Scott's been saying. Like if you're convicted on a guy, why sit there?
And he's got the ammo. Like he got the ammo this year to actually do it from where they're starting at 9 to get up anywhere in those spots ahead. It feels like Tepper's giving them the green light to be like, I don't care. Like whatever you guys decide to do, I'm with it. That's what, go get me the best so I don't have to oversee you guys. And then I'm going to trust your judgment. Like if you think we need to trade up 5 spots to go get CJ Stroud, you think he's your guy for your offense and the guys you got in here, I trust the process. Go do it. So it feels like he's got, if they want it, they can go do it. But it also feels like if those guys are off the board, say Levis, Stroud, Young are all gone by the time we get to 9 and Richardson's still sitting there. Do you take him at 9? Do you wait? But say he wasn't our guy. Like say we wanted one of those other 3.
My prediction would be is if they don't sign Derek Carr, they're trading up because you can't afford to sit there at 9 and risk the top 4 quarterbacks being off the board before you even get a chance.
And a quarterback,
because if that happens, then you're in the exact position you were last year, where you had Sam Darnold and then you made a late move to get Baker. You can't do that.
I'm gonna pull up the now this might change, of course, but as it stands right now, the NFL draft order. I need to pull up the top 10 because I'm curious how many of these teams are actually in need of a quarterback. That's another thing too. Because
like a team like Seattle is interesting because they don't need a quarterback, but they have 2 first-round picks.
Before you give us this information, Desmond, let me tell you why I'm mad.
Hold on now. I wasn't even ready. He just kind of.
I gotta get out of here in a minute.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
Why are these D linemen running 4-4, 4-4-8, 4-5, 4-5-2, 4-5? I mean 4-5-8, 4-3-9, 4-7-4, 4-4-8, 4-6-6, 4-6-6, 4-6-5. These edge rushers, bro. Like
Whoa.
these D linemen edge rushing son
Freaking
of a guns. 4-4-7, Yazir Abdullah. 4-5-1, yeah, Diaby, yeah. That's parents. Man, their parents out there naming them all kind of stuff these days. Yeah. Come here, yeah.
He can run though.
Yeah. He can run. 4-4-9, Northwestern. Adetamiwa. By a water. Hey man, listen, we're gonna call him double A. Double A from Northwestern. Ran a 4.49. I mean, these guys are moving. These guys are moving, fella. And then interior D line. Okay, 067. Okay, Callihan Cansey. From Pitt. Callihan, whatever. I mean, these guys are moving, fella. Why are they moving so fast? Tell me why.
Technology, man. 2023, like just upgraded everything. I don't know.
Like buddy coming off the edge, chasing me down out the gate as a rookie.
You got like a second and a half to figure it out.
What was KK Short's 40 when he came out? I mean,
it was under 5. I think it was like 4.8 KK.
And that was considered like
super fast. I mean, for his size too, though, like that is moving.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see what Pep's 40 was, because Pep was playing basketball. He was playing, he was very athletic. I'd be curious to see if he even ran the 40. I'd be curious to see what that was. Before Chris Cosin says they didn't have to drink hose water, they had alkaline water growing up. That's why.
See, that's what it is,
so
huh?
fast.
Yeah. Pep ran a 4.68.
4.68. How big is he though? Like he's pretty
ginormous.
That's a lot of man coming at you.
Julius Peppers is what we call Greek god size.
Adonis, like he probably was a 4.4, 4.5. I could see that pretty easy, and that's at what 290 or whatever he was playing at 285.
Yeah. Well, it says 4.68, but when he was chasing Mike Vick down, he was around 4.3.
Yeah, it wasn't no 4.68. Vick was running what 4.29 or whatever. So real quick before we get out of here, though, I just wanted to look at the top of the draft. Bears have Fields. The Texans need a quarterback. We just mentioned the Cardinals with Kyler Murray. Would they go quarterback there with a new coach?
Probably not.
Probably not. The Colts
might.
The Colts need a quarterback. We just talked about Seattle. If they is Geno up for free agency?
They need to sign Geno.
Yeah, so they could go that route. That's who I think would go after Anthony Richardson, would be Seattle. Like they seem like the ones that would take a chance on him at 5.
So you telling me they're gonna be like, sorry, Geno, thanks for everything you did this past year.
I mean, depending on, we got free agency before the draft, so they'll know by the time they get to the draft.
That would be another good situation where he could sit behind Geno for 2 years.
Yeah. So I could see them maybe getting Geno on like a 2-year.
I'm Geno. I'm hot.
Or something. Yeah.
I'm hot if I'm Geno. Man, this is my show. This is my TV show.
And I'm still sitting here. Detroit, they've got Jared Goff. The Raiders need a quarterback. Literally, we just talked to the quarterback they just kicked out. And then Atlanta, they need one. We need one. And then Phil. It makes me sick that Philly has a top 10 draft pick right now after what we just watched them do, and they're going to pick 10th. And them, they might trade up and go after somebody just to cause disruption and chaos. Like that's kind of their thing. That's what they do.
Want to decides to listen to me and go get Lamar, they can trade up and maybe get somebody.
We hadn't spoke about Lamar yet today. And I know Stu got to get out of here. We'll save it for next week because next week I think we really can get into the veteran side of this.
That's another reason why I'm mad. I'll tell you why I'm mad about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
Listen, Baltimore, don't go down this road.
Pay that man his money.
Pay this man his money and get on about your business. Because right now, what you're doing is you're showing your locker room that you ain't really that serious about your players.
Every day.
Okay?
Every day.
Every day. Isn't there a song about every day? Anyways, Lamar Jackson needs to get paid. Like, there ain't nothing about it. Okay? He got hurt last year. Y'all wasn't treating him right. He felt some type of way. Like, y'all need to make up. Kiss and make up, man.
They got a little bit of time, but I think the franchise tag has to be out. When is the deadline for that, Schuyler? It's coming up, isn't it? Right around the corner.
It was either, I think it's Monday.
This upcoming Monday. They got the weekend to figure this out. And if they don't figure this out by Monday and they drop that tag on him and he didn't want it, or they decide not to use it, which would be stupid, we'll have that to talk about next week, because we're gonna have whatever Baltimore does will be a domino effect, and of course whatever Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers do will be a domino effect. Derek Carr ain't going nowhere until all that's resolved, so he might as well just sit down until.
I have it right here, the March 8th.
March 8th.
No. Let me take that back. That's the deadline, so it must be done prior to 4 p.m. on March 8th.
That's Wednesday. That's next Wednesday. So. And we'll be back at the end of the week. So we'll have all of that when we come back next Friday. We're on Fridays during the off season. I know Stu got out of here. Schuyler got things he got to do. We're going to go ahead and get out of here right now. Presented by Bet Online and the Bleav Podcast Networks. You've been watching the Bleav in Panthers podcast. Keep pounding.